Hello, everybody. How are you?
Great.
Awesome. Today, I want to give you the secret to diamond formation leadership. And as you can hear, I'm not originally from the United States. I've been here for 22 years and come originally from Germany. I got fascinated about this whole concept of diamond and aviation and diamond formations when I was very little. When I was a 6-year-old kid, I used to always point to the airplanes that went by, flying from Europe over the Atlantic to destinations all around the world. I got introduced to the idea of diamond formations the first time when I was 8, attending an air show. So when these planes went by, my mom, while I was pointing up to the sky, always said, "Look, Uncle Gerd is up there." And she, by the way, did that for literally every plane that went by. So Uncle Gerd is actually my godfather, and he worked for Lufthansa. And I didn't really know exactly what his job was, but later learned that he was in Lufthansa Cargo as an executive, helping to put together this idea of flying goods back and forth with airplanes, when nobody had really thought about it before. What was special with him and about him was that he was one of these people who had this charisma oozing out of him. And when he came, he was always dressed impeccably, and when he came to visit us, and he took out his pipe and he started to telling me the stories of the different places he had gone and the different experiences he had, I was fascinated. And I made that connection at the time that I really wanted to be involved with aviation as well when I grew up. He, by the way, also sent me these letters on this really thin airline paper that you got when you were basically flying first class, and these little toy airplanes that Lufthansa gave out at the time for people who were interested in them. So fast forward 10, 12 years, when I got out of school, you guessed it, I actually applied to Lufthansa to get assessed and evaluated and find out if I could do what I wanted to do, flying. Went to their assessment center, and it's actually a 4-day process of academic assessments and physical assessments and medical assessments, and even a little bit of doing some simulation exercises that have to do with flying. And when I got home from that evaluation, you can imagine I couldn't wait to find out what the result was. And we lived at the 4th floor in our apartment, and so we had to go down 4 floors to get to the mailbox, and I did that every day to find out would there be a letter from Lufthansa with their distinct logo. First week, 5 times, no letter. Week 2, 3, week 4, 5, and 6, and 7 come by, no letter. 35 times I ran down these stairs, no letter. And week 8, finally, on Thursday, a letter from Lufthansa. Now you have to know, Germans don't open their letters somewhere in the hallway. So I grabbed the letter and the pile of the rest of the mail and ran up the stairs as quick as I could, almost killing myself, ripped up the envelope to look inside, and it said, "Congratulations, Mr. Meierhoefer, you successfully completed the assessment program for Lufthansa. Please call us at blah, blah, blah." It was all a blur at 2 p.m. Yes, I had actually made it. I had actually gotten what I wanted to do. So when the date finally came to make that call, I was kind of like anxious, picked up the phone and called Lufthansa. And the lady on the other line came on and said, "Hey, Mr. Meierhoefer, congratulations, you won the lottery almost. You actually made it through the evaluation and we're really happy for you. But there was one thing that we didn't want to put in the letter. And I'm sorry to tell you, but we are currently not bringing anybody in for new student training." And I was taken aback. I was stunned. I was like somebody was clamping down on my tummy. Everything started cramping up. I felt like I couldn't speak, but I got out. "How long do you think this wait is going to be?" And she said, "I don't know for sure, but it could be a couple of years if I'm thinking about the economy right now." And for me, the world stopped. For me, I actually thought flying is over before it even really began. I couldn't do what I wanted to do. So I was done, basically. I was kind of a wreck. But a few days later, my mom comes home from work, and she was a secretary for a Navy unit in town, and she had told her boss about my misfortune of not really getting my dream and getting to fly. And he said, well, the Navy has planes too. Why doesn't he apply to the Navy and fly those planes? So you can imagine, I ran to the Navy office and talked to them and wanted to apply for the Navy to fly their planes. And the guy at the Navy says, son, what do you want to do for the Navy? And I said, nah, I want to fly planes for the Navy. He says, son, if you want to fly planes for the Navy, you first have to learn how to drive a ship. So I don't want to learn how to captain a ship, I want to fly planes. So he says, son, if you want to fly, you got to go to the Air Force. Well, imagine what happened. I ran to the next recruiting office for the Air Force, signed up, got basically invited to the assessment center for the Air Force because, mind you, they didn't accept what Lufthansa did. But ultimately, it was easier for me to get through that because it was very similar to what Lufthansa did, and I had done it before. So I got accepted and went through officer training and then was sent to flight training. And what most people may not understand or have heard about is that all these different NATO countries in Europe send their students for flight training for the military to 3 locations in the United States: Wichita Falls, Texas, Mesa Air Force Base, California, and Holloman Air Force Base, New Mexico. So here I was coming together with 25 other countrymen, students that were all going into this training program, and we learned how to do basic flight training and got more and more into it. And what we also gotten introduced to at that point was this diamond formation, which is basically a formation where you have 4 planes in a specific configuration that looks like a diamond flying together in close proximity. And what we learned was that there are certain things that make this diamond work. The first thing is you need to basically collaborate with each other to make the diamond work well. The second thing is you need to form a team, and we actually found out it's better if you have a team of people that you already know. That was harder to do and to accomplish than I initially thought. The third thing is you need to be sensitive on how different people are. One thing I learned is that everybody used the technology that they knew from their home country to stay in touch with their families, and they all did it in a different way. And it was interesting, but it was also something totally new to me, and it was very valuable. And this configuration of building a team, collaborating, globally seeing, which is the fourth part, the global technology, the global aspect of this whole thing, how important it was. Later on, I found out that only 1 in 2,500 people that apply to this process and try to get through the flight training actually ever really get to fly a military jet. So I did this. I got the opportunity to realize my dream, and I then basically went into my military career. Now, at this point, I would like you to get an idea of how it actually feels to do this kind of diamond formation. So if you just start real quick with thinking, you're going down the interstate at 60 miles an hour. That's 1 mile a minute. Now speed that up 10 times and you're going 600 miles a minute. And then somebody pulls out the asphalt underneath and you're suddenly in 3 dimensions. Now for me, when I first started to learn this, the way this worked was you stepped up to the plane, you had some crew, and then I got in. And if you've ever seen race car drivers, you get strapped in, you barely can move anymore. I thought they strapped me down so hard that I would ever be able to move or see anything. It's for your own safety, but for me it was new. So here I am, I'm getting strapped in, the canopy closes, we're going out to our first diamond formation. You're taxiing to the number 1 position, it's basically at the head of the runway. You're lining up, you're lighting the engines, and I had the good fortune always to fly with planes that have 2 engines. So just so you have an idea, this thing is about 20 tons heavy, and each engine has 75,000 horsepower. So we are sitting there, And my instructor puts the throttles to full power, and the whole thing is rumbling already and shaking like crazy. And then he lights the afterburner, and the full 150,000 horsepower comes to light. And then you're rushing down the runway, and you're taking off into the sky, and you know that the other 3 guys that make the diamond are close behind. And then the trick becomes to have this 20-ton thing with 150,000 horsepower, and you make minor little corrections to stay in perfect position. So I got to learn this first. Then I became an instructor, which the training for instructor is just a way to teach you to detect when the student is trying to kill you. And then I did a whole bunch of other things, one of which ended up being in flight testing, which sent me to the United States quite a few times on short little time trips. And I wanted to find a way to come here more often. So I actually got an opportunity to become an exchange officer and fly these diamond formations with other people. But one thing that happens, this whole stuff is very demanding on your body. And when my body started telling me, I can't do this flying anymore, I can't keep you in this kind of real presence to be able to handle these situations, I reached a shift moment. I needed to decide what I wanted to do, and I definitely didn't want to fly a desk, as we call that. If you can't fly the plane anymore, you fly a desk. So I got out and I joined a company because I wanted to see how much of this diamond formation leadership that I had learned would be transferable into corporate business. And some of it was, but a lot of it wasn't, at least not where I worked, because it was basically like a dictatorship. So in 2005, I decided I don't want to do it anymore. I want to help other people to actually learn about it and benefit from it. So I started my own business, helping people and leaders like you to learn about diamond formation leadership and what the value is. So what I like to ask you today is, when you look around in your inner eye for your team that you know, or for the people that you're sitting around here with, and ask yourself, okay, I'm looking for my diamond. I imagine each one of those corners as part of a 4-way scale. How well have I actually done in using the benefits of globalization to make my team and my position better? How much have I really done to bring my team together, analyze the heritage, the needs, the desires of my team members, and bring the best people together so your diamond formation can be the best? How much am I doing in my cultural sensitivity and tuning into what my team members need so that we can all stay in position better, that we can actually be in perfect position ideally and in perfect balance? And then ask yourself, outside of your immediate area, how much are you doing on a regular basis to collaborate with others? If you're in a large company, that might be another area, another team, another group within your company. And if you're not in that big of an area, you might actually reach out to people and other organizations in the industry or beyond around the globe. Whatever it takes to make incremental changes, you have the power, like we had the 150,000 horsepower in our planes. You have the power to make changes, but they need to be little changes, even though you have this massive responsibility. So what the secret really is to diamond formation leadership is to identify those 4 corners. Ask yourself on a regular basis, how well am I doing? And if you find for yourself right now, when you're sitting here and listening to me, that there might be something out of balance, somebody, some piece, the globalization, the team building, the cultural sensitivity, or the collaboration is out of position or out of balance, then do something about it. It's not going to happen by itself, but you have the power to do something about it. And that's actually the secret. Get your formation in perfect position and perfect balance. Thank you.